Hey, this is Ben from Interrobot, and today I'm going to go over connecting your WARC archives, which are single file web archives, to Claude Desktop via MCP Server WebCrawl. And what MCP Server WebCrawl does is it acts as like a search and retrieval interface to your WARC files so that Claude can query against that. Opens up a lot of possibilities. But let's just get into it. The WARC file format, you can see that there's a bunch of software that can generate these. So for this tutorial, we're going to be using WGet. But I want to go over some of the pros and cons of using WARC versus using a WGet mirror, because I also have another tutorial about using WGet in mirror mode. The difference is that mirror mode is a lot faster at archiving a website. However, on the plus side, what WARC does get is it gets the status codes and it gets the headers, where WGet mirror will not produce those. It will just save files to the disk. And then the indexer goes through the files. At that point, it's already lost the status codes and the headers. To summarize, WGet WARC is going to be more comprehensive, and WGet mirror is going to be a faster crawl. So pick your poison, or use a different crawler. The first thing you're going to need is the server runtime, which is Python. You may already have this. If you don't, just head over to python.org, run through the installer. If you're using Windows, there's a checkbox to add Python to path. You're going to want to check that. And once you've got that set up, we're going to head over to a shell. So for macOS, this would be terminal. For Windows, I'm using PowerShell. And from here, I'm just going to check that Python is on my path. And it is. And if we have Python, we have pip. So from here, we're going to install MCP Server WebCrawl, which is the MCP server. The way to do that is pip install MCP Server WebCrawl. And I've already got it installed, so it says requirements satisfied. Hopefully this installs it for you. The way to check is to say MCP Server WebCrawl, and it's there. So we're good. So what does this mean? This means that our MCP server, the thing that sits between the web crawl and Claude Desktop, is ready to serve. So we've got a few more steps. We're going to need to gather some crawls, and then we're going to need to configure Claude Desktop to search and filter these crawls. So I'm on Windows, so my version of WGet is actually running on Ubuntu on Windows. But if you're using macOS, you're probably going to install WGet through brew if you haven't already. You can check if WGet is available with a WGet version. So at this point, we have all of our software that we're going to need. We have our server runtime, we have our server, we have Claude Desktop, and we have WGet. So we're just going to grab some crawls to work with for the demo. And to do that, I'm going to head back to the MCP Server WebCrawl page, head down to the configuration, select WARC, and you can see that there's a configuration that we're going to add to Claude. But before we do that, let's get some data. So let's head back here. So we'll grab example, and we'll grab Pragmar. So at this point, we have two WARC files. They're warc.gz, which is gzip. That's fine. And in Windows terms, that is on the desktop. So we can just grab that. We'll work with that later. Okay, so we have our data now. Now we just need to connect it to Claude. To do that, we're going to take this configuration. We're going to modify it to our own environment. So for me, that means my command will be just MCP Server WebCrawl, because it's Windows and it's on path. And my data source will be that directory that I showed you on desktop. So let's head back to Claude, and just want to show you there's no MCP servers right now. I'm going to head to Settings, Developer, Edit Config. and then I'm going to add my new configuration. Okay, so let's save that. Head back to Claude. We need to fully close in order to reload the configuration. So when we come back, we'll have our MCP server, and they are both active. So everything looks good. We can actually start interacting with our data right now. We can ask, can you list crawled sites? Here we go. If it's your first time through, you're going to get prompted for a permission to use the tool. I've already given that access. It's going to come back with the 2 WARC files, which is exactly what we want. I can ask, like, are there any 404s? And it's going to search for 404 status, and it's going to find one. And sure, I mean, it's a contrived 404, but it is a 404, so it caught the status. And that's one thing that WARC can do that a WGet mirror won't do for you, is collect status codes and headers, by the way. There's a give and take. You just got to figure out what's best for you. But with WGet, you do have access to both the WARC type and the simple file archive. They're both options. They both have strengths. They both have weaknesses. Anyway, hopefully that gives you an idea for what you can do with MCP Server WebCrawl. That's all I got for today. Have a good one, and later on.